This is my review of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, well, this episode happened. It's kind of dark, kind of grim a little bit, kind of sort of, but it also does exposit some stuff to us. So, it starts off with Jojo sampling the local cuisine, which happens to be spaghetti with squid ink sauce, which surprisingly tastes delicious once Jojo actually gives it a try. And it's at this point where we meet Caesar Zappelli, who we don't know is Caesar Zappelli until Jojo realizes it, and he tries to pick a fight with Caesar because he's being a bit of a Casanova in the middle of the restaurant. And it's at this point where it's revealed that Caesar is in fact a Haman user and is Caesar Zappelli, which is the guy they were coming to meet. And he and Jojo don't exactly hit it off. Jojo wants him to teach him but doesn't really like him, whereas Caesar wants nothing to do with him because he thinks his Haman is too weak and refuses to train him. So, yeah, needless to say, Jojo and Caesar don't exactly hit it off. They're not exactly the best of friends. And it's also kind of revealed in a bit of a flashback that shortly after Santana was defeated, his body was brought back to the Speedwagon Foundation, where Speedwagon actually tries to test to see what his body is capable of and how to defeat him, which they continue to research in this time since he's left. Because this is all a flashback, and it's revealed that Santana is still alive, still kicking, but he's a stone statue and can't turn back into flesh so long as he's under UV lighting. Which we find out later is what the Germans are using to keep the other Pillarmen at bay. And it doesn't work, as we'll see later. But after about 8 hours of Jojo and Caesar bickering, the two of them decide to go head over to the site of where all the Pillarmen are kept. And they are en route with one of Caesar's German friends, Mark, who isn't a major character. He's like a little side character that's there. He's not necessarily important to the story, as I'll point out later. But they are too late getting there, as in the time it took them to get there, Wamu, one of the Pillarmen, Wamu, who is his name, I just said that, but anyway, Wamu is sneaky, and he uses his horn to impale one of the guards and puts out the UV lighting that the Germans were using to keep them at bay. And without the UV lighting, Wamu is able to easily kill every single guard there, turning them into a chain of people by fusing their hands together and then draining their life force one guard after the other, before freeing cars in AC/DC. So, yeah, and then they arrive and that's when Caesar, Jojo, and the others show up, and Mark is accidentally killed because the Pillarmen just don't care. What happens is, it's about what the Pillarmen do to Mark is the equivalent of what a normal everyday person would do to an ant when they're walking. They just brush past him and accidentally erase half of his body. And Caesar wants revenge for his friend, first draining the rest of his life energy so that he can have a swift, peaceful death, and then going to challenge the Pillarman by himself, saying that Jojo should stay out of it. And during this entire sequence, the Pillarmen are expositing just a little bit about how their plan is to create a perfect stone mask, for lack of a better term, but using the red stone of Asia, which we've seen in the OP and OED of this series so far. So we know it exists. We already know what it looks like at this point. And they reveal that with it, they can create a perfect stone mask, which will presumably get rid of all the weaknesses that the standard stone mask actually has. But they reveal that they don't know what it looks like or where it's kept anymore, since it's been so long since they've been out of the stone pillar and have no idea where it is. And just because they're immortal doesn't mean they're perfect, it's because they don't really remember much of anything before they were put into the stone pillar. So it's kind of them just kind of pulling guesses out of their ass and trying to figure out where it is. So the Pillarmen have a goal. They established that their goal is to create a perfect stone mask so they can become ultimate beings and be perfect and be unable to be defeated at all, even by sunlight. So this is probably going to be interesting because Jojo beat the first one by sheer luck, and now there's 3 more of them. So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play out. I mean, obviously Jojo is going to have to train his Haman up a little bit to become stronger. And as I said, Caesar's kind of refusing to teach him, but will probably change his mind in this episode, in this next episode, or the one after that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And also, Caesar has an interesting little technique that he uses for his Haman. He reveals that his ability to generate Haman is extended by the fact that his clothes are covered in a special, I don't know, like a soapy fluid type thing, as he explains it, which enables him to make bubbles out of Haman. Which is kind of cool, and kind of a really interesting idea for Haman techniques. Yeah, for the most part, this series seems to be establishing different ways to use Haman, as for the most part, the first JoJo's Bizarre Adventure just had Jonathan punching stuff really hard while his fist was infused with Haman. So it's definitely showing that Haman can be used in completely different ways now, as it's being established. So this is going to be interesting. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to play out, but we have three Pillarmen that the Joestar group needs to defeat, and each one seems to have different abilities and powers. For example, Wamu was able to retract his horn and stick it back out and use it as like a projectile type thing, and that's how he was able to put out the lights, by impaling one of the guards and spraying blood all over the place. So it's going to be definitely a bit interesting to see how Jojo is able to overcome this and fight these guys. Because, as I said, these guys are mostly invincible. Haman doesn't really affect them from the outside, but it does affect them from the inside. But they also regenerate, and they're weak to sunlight, but I'm assuming that that's what the Redstone of Asia is for. It's going to try and... They're going to go after the Redstone of Asia and try to make themselves immune to sunlight. So it's going to be an interesting next couple of episodes, and I don't know how it's going to play out. But if you guys have seen this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I want to know, what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, hit the like and the subscribe button. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. You can also find it in the iCard in the end screen, and it really helps me out, so I appreciate checking that out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!